Information shared on the following program is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, investment, or other advice, nor is it intended to recommend any particular investments, products, or financial instruments. Always seek advice from your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant with regard to investment, legal, or tax questions.
Welcome to the only show in the country dedicated to helping savers worry less about money, the Worry-Free Retirement, with your host, nationally recognized retirement specialist and six-time author and fiduciary, Tony Walker.
Welcome, folks, to the Worry-Free Retirement. And yes, I am that little man in the sweater vest, retirement planning specialist and fiduciary, Tony Walker. And today you are in for a real treat as we have in the studio, all the way from Bowling Green, Kentucky, my favorite fellow fiduciary. Some 16 years ago, you joined our firm, Miss Heather Hughes. Well, good morning, Heather.
Good morning, Tony. Thanks for having me back.
Oh, you're more than welcome. We love having you in our Louisville studios. In fact, I think rumor has it, after this show today, you, Trey, and Wes are going to be recording a show all on your own. Is this true?
It might be true. Oh. We may be kicking you out of the studio.
This will be cool. I'll look forward to it. Well, basically, Heather, I wanted to have you on because it has been many years since we've first started working together. Our theme today is kind of this idea of longevity, and the concept is longevity, to be in something for the long haul, requires a lot of consistency. So I thought if anybody could speak to that at Tony Walker Financial, it would be you. You and Connie Fortney have been with me this long, but especially since you're kind of over all the operations in Bowling Green. So first of all, tell the audience briefly how you got started with Tony Walker Financial, a little bit about your background.
Came on board about 2006. My background was in accounting. You hired me to do tax research. I think my original title was Financial Research Coordinator. Does that sound about right?
I like that,
yeah. And from there, it just kind of morphed into learning a lot from you. We started developing income plans for clients. And then I also became a fiduciary. And so I head up I'm the full-time fiduciary in the Bowling Green office, kind of head up operations there. And just learned a lot, and I've really enjoyed the journey.
So as we kind of think back, for a while, it was just years ago, you and I and Connie, now we have 15, 16 employees, whatever. Right. What would you say is attributed to this longevity and the consistency we have shown as a firm in helping people with their money?
A couple of things. I think the process that you developed over time, I think is really key to taking clients through the journey of retirement and how we do the planning process. And then I think you aligning yourself with some really good staff who specialize in their fields has really contributed greatly to the firm.
And, of course, we'll go into great detail in a little while in the process, but let's kind of talk from your vantage point. Basically, the folks that contact us, and they have really no idea what a retirement planning specialist does, but maybe those who have thought they had a retirement planning specialist, then they get with us and start working, and just the difference they see in terms of the detail and the amount of work and what we're trying to do to help them be worry-free in retirement.
I think the key difference is most people that come to us who have maybe worked with a financial advisor before really never had a written game plan. So they've had accounts that they've had managed, but they've had no real plan on how to use those and what piece that falls into the retirement process.
Yeah, I kind of think about that a little bit. It reminds me of when somebody comes in. A lot of times, I know you're meeting people more and more on the first appointment, but I love meeting people on the first appointment. They're very gracious. They bring in all their stuff, their tax returns, all their investment statements. And I don't mean to be terse with them, but I'll say, okay, so let me see the game plan. And they're like, what do you mean? What's a game plan? They have no clue. And the fear is, as we'll talk about later, if you don't have that game plan, when in the world are you going to know when to spend the money, how much you can spend? So it's really been a key, and we appreciate all your work there. So as a result of this proven process, this software we have in the staff, how would you say that's all been coordinated over the years? Because it didn't happen just overnight. I mean, you've seen how we've had trial and error. We've tried different things, but to this effort of trying to just continually improve what we do for our clients, how would you say in terms of our passion for doing that?
Oh, yeah, we're always in continual process improvement. I mean, I think you and I have been on a long journey together. When we first started the idea of income plans, retirement plans, I was sketching them all out on an Excel spreadsheet, which, lots of formulas and things like that, which I loved. But then, we were blessed by growth, and the practicality of that was just to sustain that type of growth. Can't do that by hand. So that's when we started developing the proprietary software so we could develop income plans a little bit more faster, more efficiently. And, other processes that we've improved are different software that we're using for our Schwab reporting and rebalancing. We had some that was working fine, but we found better ones that we're implementing this year that just improves it that much better. We really want to have the client experience to be as great as possible.
Yeah, and speaking of those, we've got Wes Walker, my favorite nephew, who's kind of indulged in himself into the training of that software. But yeah, speak to that a minute. I mean, that's very, very expensive. We didn't have to do that.
Right.
But I always say retirement planning is more than just crunching numbers. What do I say we're really in the business of here?
Communication.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of people don't even understand what they have or how to use it. So if we can explain that story to them in a simple, easy to understand manner, one of the biggest questions is, can I retire? It's a simple question. It's a hard one to answer. But with the software that we have, we can show them whether it is a good time or not to retire. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes you need to work a few more extra years. But then a lot of times we'll see, and I get a lot of enjoyment and satisfaction from that, they think that they have to keep working, and they're like, well, here it is. You can retire now. And the sense of relief that they have is amazing. So it's nice to be able to give that to clients and give them some peace of mind.
And we have this happen a lot, but even just recently you said, well, I think I want to share this one example. Remind me, didn't you have somebody that came in, kind of had a good relationship with an advisor for years, who I think overall done a pretty good job, but what was the one question he asked the advisor that just kind of stumped the whole deal?
He asked, when can I retire? Very simple question. And the advisor either would not or could not answer that for him. He turned over all of his information to us. We took him through the process like every other client and came up with a plan and said, here it is. This was your target date for retirement. Yes, you can do it. This is what we're anticipating your income be. And he was just amazed. And he's like, absolutely. He's like, why couldn't he have answered this before? And I was like, well, he doesn't have the process or the software that we do.
That's right. And then we're going to take a break in a second here, but we've got to talk about our staff a little bit. Like you said, we have been so blessed with wonderful staff, but we've had, years ago, 20 some odd years ago, I went to this 4-day work week. And back then it was kind of unusual. I think now people are talking a lot more about it, but the only thing I said when we went on that, I remember Connie Fortney. Were you with me when we first went on, or you had just joined? Right,
I think I had just joined.
Okay. So Connie Fortney even thought, Tony, you're crazy. And I said, Connie, we can do this, but we are going to have to start developing processes. We're going to have to get more efficient with our time. So speak to that briefly. All the staff we have only working 4 days a week, and how much work they produce and how well they work together.
Right. Well, one, you're a visionary, I think, for that 4-day work week. Now, I've seen studies just recently in the news on how people are actually more productive in a 4-day work week versus 5, a lot less stress and things like that. But given that, everybody is on task in the office. I'm so proud of our staff, and they work hard. They know what they need to do. They all share the same vision of working what's best for the client. And so everybody's very much on task and, kind of nose to the grindstone when we're there. So it's great.
Yeah, and we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, I've had all the employee meetings. I have those once a year, and there's some interesting things that came out of those employee meetings, our staff meetings. And so when we come back, among many things we're going to talk about, Heather, we're going to Zoom call 2 of our staff members, only been with us less than a year, and a couple of interesting things that came up in those employee meetings. So, folks, you stay tuned. I'm with Heather Hughes. We'll be right back. Have you recently retired, been laid off, or offered a pension buyout? Has the company you work for moved, been acquired, or closed its doors forever? And finally, do you have a 401k with a previous employer you'd like to move to safer territory? Then take advantage of this opportunity to move your 401k or lump sum pension to Tony Walker Financial. Let's meet in person to discuss your retirement options. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com to schedule your free, no obligation appointment. Let us help you today. Wondering how much money you'll need to retire? Probably a lot less than you think. I'm retirement specialist Tony Walker, and for the past 36 years, I've helped thousands of savers determine when to retire and how much money they'll need in retirement, and I can help you too. So if you're retired or thinking of retiring soon, maybe you know of somebody who doesn't know if they can retire, let me invite you to log on right now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. We look forward to talking with you soon.
Tony, I keep hearing the term fiduciary, and it's a relatively new term, at least to me. Can you explain what that is and why it's so important for folks to work with a fiduciary?
Well, actually, you're right. Fiduciary is a term you don't hear a lot. In the financial world, though, it's getting very, very popular because there are so many people giving financial advice now. So a fiduciary, by definition, simply means that someone is going to be working in your best interest, not theirs. The problem in the financial world, in order to transact business, to manage your money, for instance, you don't have to be a fiduciary by law. In other words, it's kind of odd, but you don't have to actually be held to a higher standard of working in someone's best interest. So we at Tony Walker Financial have volunteered, we have elected to become fiduciaries. We have the proper licensing. Besides myself, there are 3 other fiduciaries, and our job is to make sure that we are working in the client's best interest.
So give me an example of what a first meeting might look like. If I'm a new client, I come into your office and I meet with you or one of your associates. Yeah,
a good way to tell if you're working with a fiduciary is how quickly are they moving you through the process. So for instance, at Tony Walker Financial, that first meeting, Diane, when we sit down, we're basically going to go over all of your information. That's all we do at the first meeting. We're collecting data, we're making sure we understand what it is you want and what you're trying to achieve. Then in almost all cases, we have a second appointment. Now during the second appointment is where we provide all of our findings, all of our assessment, and that information is confidential to you and personalized to you. Now here's the real thing that really surprises people. We generally don't ask people to buy anything after that second meeting unless they're ready to move forward. We encourage them to take their information home, study it, make sure they understand how we're paid, how much money we're going to make on the transaction if they move money over, and just make sure they have a real comfort level. So yes, in conclusion, Diane, you want to make sure you're working with a fiduciary. Our employee spotlight today shines brightly on Miss Mandy Houchins. Good morning to you, Mandy.
Good morning, Tony.
Thank you for making the drive up to Louisville with Connie Fortney. Did you have a good drive up?
We did, yes. No
Good.
traffic, so it was nice.
Well, thank you so much for being with us. And just briefly tell us a little bit about your background, Mandy, prior to joining Tony Walker Financial.
Sure, I had done banking for about 22 years, all aspects. Started as a teller, was a processor, a loan assistant, ended up as a loan officer, mortgage lending, and did that for a while, and then just decided I needed a change. So still financial world, but a different aspect this time.
Yeah, what is the one thing that's kind of, I wouldn't want to say surprised you about working for a retirement planning specialist, but what have you seen that's kind of different from the banking or the rest of the financial world that you've learned?
I think you're just helping people at a different point in their life. You know, most people that have saved all of their working years when they're, doing lending and things like that, and most people that we're helping now are past that. They're ready for the retirement and enjoying the money that they've saved.
And I liked how you put it, too. I asked you once in the office, I said, what do you see as one of the advantages of what we do? And how did you put that, stretching the money, making it work? What did you say there?
Yeah, you see how far you can stretch the money that they've saved.
That's really good. And then one area, Mandy, and we really appreciate this that you're helping with, and it kind of surprised me that you said you actually enjoyed doing this, but at Tony Walker Financial, I always say that we take you from cradle to grave, and unfortunately, with our clientele being many of them retired, we do lose some of our clients to death.
Sure.
And we are unusual because we encourage the family to let us help with those death claim forms, and you've kind of jumped right in there and share with that process that unfortunately we do have a lot of clients in that age range. So tell people what your role is in that process.
Basically, you contact the companies that they have accounts with, annuities or, Charles Schwab, and you help them with those death claim forms. The filling out of that paperwork can be very overwhelming, especially in a tough time like that. So I basically prep the paperwork and find out what their options are for going forward with those accounts.
And I know they really appreciate that. And finally, Lisa Allerkamp, who does all of our income plans, you've also jumped in helping out with that. I mean, you're doing so many wonderful things. Tell people about your role in helping with the income planning and the rewards you see in that in terms of our clients knowing exactly what they got and how they're going to be able to use and enjoy it.
Sure. You basically look at what people have saved, over their lives, and you help them figure out where to put it and how to stretch it out, like I like to say. and make it last for them, and how they can get that mailbox money, as you talk about, over the retirement years of their life. And I have enjoyed figuring out how to do that best for people. Not everybody wants the same thing, so each one is different.
Mm-hmm. Good observation. Well, Mandy, first of all, we appreciate all that you do for Tony Walker Financial, and hopefully you're with us many years in the future. So thank you so much for your service.
Thank you, Tony.
You're welcome.
Are you retired or retiring soon? Do you have a 401k, IRA, thrift savings account, 403b, or lump sum pension that you'd like to move to safer territory? Did you know that all the money you see on your 401k statement isn't really yours? Depending on your overall taxable income, the government has essentially a lien on your 401k that can tax as much as 40% of your money when you go to take it out. Tony Walker calls this the 401k tax tumor. For over 33 years, retirement specialist Tony Walker has helped thousands of savers worry less about money by creating game plans to deal with your tax tumor. Get control of your retirement by controlling the taxes owed on it. Schedule a free meeting to see if you can reduce your tax tumor and provide a guaranteed income you can never outlive. To get started, simply log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. That's TonyWalkerFinancial.com.
Hi, I'm Leanne Tinsley, and I work in the tax planning department here at Tony Walker Financial. If you're the owner of a qualified account and at least 72, you're required by the government to take distributions and pay taxes on a portion of that account. This is called your required minimum distribution, or RMD. One way we've helped our clients who may not need this income and want to avoid those taxes is to implement a qualified charitable distribution, or QCD. By making those required distributions directly to a qualified charitable organization, such as your local church or favorite charity, 100% of that distribution is tax exempt. You and your spouse could distribute up to $100,000 annually per person. So if you're already a giver and don't need the additional income of those RMDs, call our office and find out how we can help you set up a QCD.
Who can you trust? It's one of the most important decisions you'll have to make. Question is, are you ready? Well, we're here to help at Tony Walker Financial. You know, we care more about you than we do your money, and we have over 2,000 happy clients and an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau to prove it. Rolling over a 401k, confused about Social Security, maybe you're afraid of running out of money. Learn how to use and enjoy and protect your hard-earned money. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com and let's get started. Wondering how annuity peddlers can offer bonuses of up to 15 or even 20% on your money? Well, as the old saying goes, if it sounds too good to be true, there's always a catch. Here's my thoughts. Don't get stuck in the wrong annuity. Get a free second opinion from one of the leading writers of annuities in the country, Tony Walker Financial. To get started, simply log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com or call 877-499-WALK. Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement. Our theme today is this idea of how can Tony Walker Financial, now we've been in business over 38 years, how do we do what we do? And I think we've realized it's the idea of consistency.
Absolutely.
So before we get into a little bit more, I want to talk about our staff and some things that we do at Tony Walker Financial. Great Tony in the Trenches. I want you to address this one. You ready?
Okay.
Let's take a look. This comes from Rick out of Louisville. He says, Tony, I was recently notified that my agent, who I purchased an annuity through years ago, is no longer in business, and now I no longer have an advisor to service the annuity. Can you handle the service of this annuity for me? All right, I hate to throw this one on you. This is kind of a tough question. Why is this a toughie?
It is a toughie. One, we'd love to be able to service it. Would we be able to? Maybe. So what we've been seeing a lot of is advisors that are retiring or unfortunately even passing away. And that leaves the clients kind of out in the cold on what to do with this annuity. Problem arises is because, one, they never had a plan for the annuity in the first place. So they don't know how this was supposed to be utilized in retirement. So it's kind of a tough one for us because we may or may not be able to use it. and advise on it because it was never a part of a game plan that we had originally crafted out for them.
So there is hope, though. So let's say somebody maybe has a very old annuity that we might be able to do something with. That's the thing, folks. A lot of these newer annuities you've rushed out and bought in the last 2 or 3 years, you want us to take over them or make changes. There's huge surrender penalties. So let's say somebody's got an older annuity, 10 plus years old. Maybe they're thinking about buying an annuity, been pitched an annuity, been on the internet. What would be your suggestion before they buy an annuity? Should be an obvious answer, Heather.
Get a second opinion, preferably from us.
Thank you.
You're
Very
welcome.
good. Very good. Well, that's good stuff, though. Okay, let's keep moving here because we want to go back to the staff. I really want to focus on this wonderful staff. By the way, we were talking about working harder and working smarter. That's Mandy Alton. I didn't even know she had that plaque. I got to get a picture of you. Look at that. Stay positive, work hard, make it happen. That's kind of the attitude. But let's, if you would, Derek, let's just put up all the staff. I mean, the amount of service work, of course, we've got you, Trey, and Wes as salaried fiduciaries. Real quickly, speak to that. What is the importance of having salaried fiduciaries there to help you versus fiduciaries that may be able to earn commissions and fees on their advice?
We're a little bit different from most registered investment advisory firms in that we don't have our own individual set of clients by advisor. We kind of share them as a pool. And with Trey and Wes and I not being on a commission, we don't have any motive to necessarily sell them the highest commissional product. So we're salaried. We're there to work for them. We don't have a hidden agenda.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And speaking of hidden agendas, what's so interesting, some of our recent hires, of course, all of the staff always have year-end meetings. So in the Bowling Green office, I've met with everybody. And for whatever reason, I thought it was interesting. TJ, Timmy Reagan, and Juanita Jackson have been with me less than a year. And what I thought we would do, let's do a Zoom call first with TJ. I've pre-recorded this, but let's watch this Zoom call real quick. This is really interesting what he came up with. Let's let her roll, Aaron. Well, good morning, TJ.
Morning, Tony.
Okay, TJ, you've been with Tony Walker Financial for 7 months now. I have 2 very important questions to ask you as we continue on our theme of continuous improvement and longevity at Tony Walker Financial. So first question, I know you're in the banking business, tax preparation business. I think you had heard a little bit about Tony Walker Financial, but what was your impression of what we did at Tony Walker Financial?
My impression was that it was just like every other investment firm, that we just met with clients, talked about investments and annuities, different ways to invest folks' money. And that's kind of where it stopped. That's what I thought.
Okay, TJ, you've been with us 7 months now. What is your impression now in terms of what we do at Tony Walker Financial prior to when you started with us?
Well, there's a lot more that goes into it, like monitoring folks' R&Ds and their progress with us.
And we sure appreciate all the work that you're doing in the income planning and the tax planning department. So thanks for your time, TJ, and you make it a good day.
Thanks, you too.
You're welcome. All right, what are your thoughts about TJ's comments?
Oh, I think he's right on the money. I think a lot of people don't understand what we do. There's a preconception out there that it's just like, oh, pick a fund and let it roll. And TJ's been just an amazing hire. He's great on the tax research, and he has really loved learning the planning software and how we put plans together.
He really has been. So let's kind of keep moving. I want to get to Juanita in just a second. So I want to go back to your role because you play such an important role. Although you see a lot of people, obviously I'm seeing 20 to 30 people a week. I'm very busy. What is your role there? How would you describe this process? Maybe let's take it this way. Let's say somebody's met with me. I've gone through what we call the vision exercise. I've brought the information back to the company in Bowling Green. Our income planning department meets. We go over the file. You all take it from there after I make my recommendations. We get the file back. Then I meet with the person for a second appointment. No pressure. People are surprised by this. I think they're thinking, okay, Tony's coming in for the kill now. They're surprised when we say, take the binder, think about it. But then about a week later, you like to call and follow up, or they call with questions. Explain the reaction of people the way we are there to counsel them with this plan we've provided.
Absolutely. Well, I wear many hats, as you know, but that is one of the aspects of my job that I really enjoy the most. Now, I do put final eyes on the plans before you present them. I want to make sure everything's correct. So I'm already familiar with the plan prior to you presenting to the client.
And by the way, that is so helpful that people don't realize this. Yeah, once I turn the plan over and meet with that person the second time, I haven't laid eyes on it, and it is always spot on. So
right.
I thank you all so much for that.
Absolutely. But then about a week after you've presented the plan, I come back in with a follow-up phone call to the clients, just checking in to see if they've had any questions, if there were, the plan was kind of what they were expecting. And then we can have some long, in-depth conversations on the phone, or, even schedule another meeting if they have more questions that need addressing. But I think that really kind of reiterates that there are multiple layers of advisors in the firm. Everybody is accessible, and that way we can have the full service client experience.
Oh, that is so true, Heather. Now, another point I want to make, we're running out of time here, but this is really important. People think because we're on TV and we have this large firm and we're growing that you got to have a gajillion dollars to work with us. And in fact, a lot of things, this survey came out recently, put that up, Aaron. You can see that this big, huge company, a third of their people they're talking to are millionaires. Speak to the fact that you don't have to have $1 million to work with Tony Walker Financial.
No, absolutely not. Of course, you like to work with savers. And a lot of times, most clients are probably not millionaires. They've been in middle management, they've worked in production, worked hard all their lives and saved hard all their lives. And so we have to have some minimums, but they're very low. And, that article is just pretty funny because, a third of those surveyed were millionaires. So does that translate that a third of Americans are millionaires? I don't think that's quite the case, but.
And then we've got one more Zoom call because I really want to go to this. You've been very impressed with Juanita Jackson too, haven't you? Isn't she something else?
Yes.
So she's only been with us 7 months, came out of the mortgage business, very detailed person. And again, I wanted to share this Zoom call with Juanita here real quick. So Aaron, let it roll. Good morning, Juanita.
Good morning, Tony.
Well, thank you for joining us. And I'm going to ask you the same 2 questions I just asked TJ. He's been with us about 7 months, and roughly you have as well. So first of all, before joining Tony Walker Financial, what was your impression, if any, as to what we did?
Well, honestly, I wasn't terribly familiar with it. I'm an implant from another state, so this is something that's well known in Kentucky. I did understand that you handled investments and did not understand entirely that it focused so much on retirement.
Very good. So now that you've been with us 7 months, how would you speak to the fact of how well we work together, attention to detail? I know you came out of the mortgage/banking industry. So what would you say to folks who are looking for a retirement specialist and depending on us for the long haul?
Well, the key is the long haul. So it's a little different in mortgages. It's kind of a one and done. People don't buy a house once a week. They're not checking back in. And so those transactions are different, although they are kind of looking for the same thing as far as something that's customized with what they want to have. And so here it's very clear that department by department, they are working together to ensure that the final product fits the client. It isn't a cookie cutter situation.
Well said. Well, Juanita, we appreciate your efforts so much, and we look forward to working with you long into the future. And again, just thank you for all your efforts in helping our clients.
You're very welcome. It's great to be here.
Take care. So speak to the comments of Juanita.
Well, Juanita first has been just a valuable asset added to our staff. But yes, she is right. Attention to detail and our follow-up and our monitoring of the plan once it is in place. In fact, we'll probably be talking a little bit more on that monitor your progress and our income plan audits in the next show.
Oh, I can't wait for that.
You are not going to be at. But Trey and Wes and I are going to take over the studio and talk a little more about the details of, the worry-free retirement process.
Well, actually, I'm looking very much forward to this show. So, Heather, we're about out of time. I want to thank you publicly, not only for your service to all these clients, but to Tony Walker Financial, how much you mean to the organization, how much you mean to me and to just all the staff. So thank you for all you do.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Well, we hope you've enjoyed today's program. We'll talk to you next week. But you remember, between now and then, if all else fails, you be worry-free. Make it a good one.